priority chapters, and I understand we also have apologies from Mike Teelan as well. So
yes, unfortunately he's not well.
And that's fine. You know, I'd rather that he was at home getting well than here. So please fire away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have just a brief presentation. It might take 15 minutes,
yep.
And then we'll get on to the other matters that we're here to discuss. I'd just like to introduce Alan Matheson. First off, he's a team leader for the District Plan Review. And Peter Eamon, beg your pardon, who's the chapter leader for the Strategic Directions chapter.
Sorry, Peter.
Eamon, E-M-A-N.
Yep.
And Brent Pizzi, who's our legal advisor, an internal lawyer for the council. And Sarah Scott might come too as well. She's from Simpson Grierson. And I have these people here just so we can give you good, satisfactory, fulsome answers to any questions that you may have or matters you may wish to discuss.
Thank you.
Oh. Claire, is somebody flicking the slides for me, please? So, in front of you is the process to date for the notification of this first group of chapters. And we start with today, of course, where we have my little overview now, and then we'll go through the introduction chapter, which hasn't been to you before, but you should have received a few days ago, briefly over that and the maps, and then I'll pass to Peter Eamon. And tomorrow we go over the commercial, industrial, transport chapters and some of the definitions that relate to these chapters only. Then at the moment we have scheduled for the 2nd of May, although I note there that there's no actual time frame around that, and that's the residential chapter. And as a part of that, we'll have 1 hour on urban design principles and how they affect the plan as well. That will be before the residential chapter. Then we start to get into the unconfirmed dates, but then we have another workshop on the remaining chapters to be notified, natural hazards, contaminated land and subdivision. So then we have a full package after going through all of that to go to the ministers. And you'll see we have to come back for a resolution, so the committee will again need delegated authority from the council for that. Phase 1 chapters will go to the ministers for comments. They have 15 working days to provide their comments to us. Then the comments need to be considered by this committee. Then the committee again needs to adopt the chapters with revisions as per ministers' comments should they choose to do that, and then public notification sometime mid this year, although I'm not sure that that date is confirmed or not yet as we speak.
Just for assistance for the committee, the order in council is not yet gazetted, is it?
No.
No. So
it was to be gazetted today, but I understand that that has been delayed.
So do you have any indication as to when it will be gazetted?
This is a matter that is in confidence, but I believe it could be some weeks away yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a set date, no.
Right, okay, yep.
So the next slide, I just want to go over...
Sorry, hang on, wait.
Can I just ask a question on the process? At the time of going through these, I think
Yes.
it would be incredibly sensible for us to set actual times as soon as possible, given the issues around that. But secondly, when something arises from a raft of public submissions that we will have all had in our particular wards, what is the process by which we actually seek to have that changed?
Well, it's the process that we're beginning today. We start with the Strategic Directions chapter, and tomorrow we go through 3 chapters, and that is in this slide. The process is that we will have a slide first off that talks about the most significant number or the most significant comments that have come through on that chapter. Then we'll have another slide that talks about if there are comments for and against that particular issue and give you some idea of how many and who they've come from. And then we'll talk through what changes are being proposed from an officer level at least for you to consider in relation to those comments. And then we can go through the rest of the chapter, because you'll all see that the draft chapters that you have different colours in them, and I'm about to go through what that stands for.
So just so that I'm really, really clear. So if, for example, somebody's not happy with a chunk of something,
Yes.
and they've had a whole lot of public submissions on it.
Yes.
Do we just vote on that as a council, or what is the actual process?
My understanding is that these are workshops, and it's about discussing and giving your views, and then there will be another committee meeting for you to actually sign off the chapters to go to the minister. That's what's in that process up there.
So when we get to the residential chapter, for example, there's obviously been a number of submissions, I'm thinking generated around one particular area. If there was a desire amongst councillors to make an alteration to the plan, we would indicate that
Yes.
at that meeting, but we would
Yes.
vote on it at a separate meeting.
Yes, and we would also need to advise you about the proposed change that we would be putting forward and where that's coming from, because of course, and this is all in my slides that I'm about to go through, it's not only the public comments that need to be taken into consideration here, but there is the hierarchy of planning documents, the Land Use Recovery Plan, the Resource Management Act, and those types of things as well.
Phil?
Thank you, Richard. And can I just point out to councillors, I understand this is like a public workshop and
Yep.
it's being live streamed. I know some people
No,
just
I
come
don't
into
think
the
it's been
processes.
live screened.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I just wanted to
understood it
clarify
is.
that.
Oh, sorry, no, I didn't realise that it was.
Oh, I think it has been? Yep, okay, thank
Oh.
you. And the one thing I was just going to ask about, just like in terms of, maybe it's also partly being a new councillor, but my understanding of what now seems to be in the plan, the draft plan, is especially regarding the LERP, is somewhat different from what I'd understood in the earlier workshops. So, with that in mind, should we raise that with you, or will you raise that with us as we go along? Because
We can do, but if I could just speak to that. The first drafts that you saw were our initial drafts, and of course the thinking has changed and honed a lot more since we've worked through Section 32 matters, since we've finished certain investigative projects, and with comments that we've had all the way along through our legal review, and we have an external peer reviewer up in Wellington, and through the CAG and TAG process, that's Technical Advisory Group and Collaborative Advisory Group. We haven't just stood still since those first rough drafts have come to you. So that's why we're bringing it to you now in a workshop, in a sense, so that you can understand the changes have been made and where they've come from. I don't think you should worry that there's been any massive change of direction. That's not the case. There've been more refinements and consistencies and just more thinking around them. You're welcome.
Jimmy?
Thank you. But based on your, mention earlier, I mean, because this document is early stage of draft district plan review document. So if we later on, not today, this week, because this workshop not make any decision, but if distribute to the each different the committee meeting, whether all those community, business group, or individual, the ratepayer, they are still eligible to make the submission through the deputation by appointment, even they have comments to the staff already.
Oh, absolutely. This is the normal process for any district plan review, despite any truncated process that might come later, is that there's always what I call informal consultation, but pre-notification consultation, albeit that this round of consultation that we've done has extended a heck of a lot wider than any other district plan I've been involved in, and has included government officials as well. So yes, anybody and everybody is still open to make submissions under the formal submission process once it's notified.
Thank you.
Yanni?
Thank you, and apologies for being late. You may have already covered this, but do we have a copy of the Order in Council?
Yes, we've already covered that. So the Order in Council is not yet gazetted, and it may be some time away. We don't know. We've already asked officials that question as to whether they know when it will be available, and they don't know. It could be some time away.
So I guess there's a wider question I have.
Yes, which is a question I need to raise with the Minister, so I'd like to take that offline. It's not something that the staff can actually address.
Right, okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carry on, Bridget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just the next slide, please. So just working through the material that hopefully you have in front of you. You should have the draft introduction chapter, the public engagement comments on that chapter. The public engagement comments on the draft strategic directions chapter and that draft chapter. And you should also have a set of the maps and the draft section 32 for the strategic directions chapter. You should have, you won't have it in front of you, but I just want to bring to your attention that you will have, if not in front of you, they will be made available in your councillors' offices, the full text of all of the comments that we received through the Finding the Balance public engagement process, of which there are about 900. And that's just 900 comments, but they can be subdivided, and some of those comments are pages long and could be subdivided into any number of issues. You will also have available to you, if you haven't already, is the full text of analysis of the 3 online surveys. And you should also have at least available to you on the tables the land use recovery plan for reference, and I'll bring those every time because there isn't enough for each councillor, unfortunately.
Actually, what I seem to be missing are the draft section 32s.
Okay, you should have received those, and if not, I will make sure that you get them. Perhaps we can actually ask somebody to go back and track them down now, please, Ivan. I don't intend to take you through those section 32s page by page,
Have others got them?
but they are the basis
They're
for...
pretty fundamental.
They are, and of course, what will be when we're having discussion with you, it's drawing on what's in those draft section 32s. And I apologise, you were supposed to have received them.
Well, we should have read them before we had this
Yes.
workshop. Yeah.
So we'll get those to you as soon as we can.
Yep. Thank you.
And if you have any further questions on them, obviously we can come back to them in another workshop.
Have you got one, Claire?
They should have been under this document. Oh, that's the next one. You take that copy.
No, there wasn't any because
got
it's not a rules-based chapter. It has no real effect. I'll talk about that in a minute.
You take that.
No, so we are getting copies of the section 32s now. I apologise. The instruction was to get them to you in the bundle, but as I say, we'll be discussing them today, and the information that the reasoning behind all of the rules, objectives, and policies are in that section 32. Happy to come back to that at another workshop. Fortunately, it's only one.
Yeah. So they well, there's 2. One for the introduction, one for the strategic
the
direction.
introduction one has no. There are no objectives, policies, and rules. It's just an explanatory chapter. It has no real legal effect, so that doesn't have a section 32.
Okay. Except it's just called section 32 introduction.
Oh, is there? Is there? I don't think. Well, look, I apologise for this.
Okay. So there'll be other section 32s.
I beg your pardon. What you have is the introductory section 32 that oversees all of the other section 32s. So it's an introductory document to all of the section 32s.
So we'll be getting a separate section 32 for every chapter?
Yes, you will.
Right, okay. And when will we have the ones that we're going to discuss tomorrow?
Well, if you haven't already got them, and
No,
I will...
we haven't.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure you get them today as soon
Okay.
as possible, hopefully by the end of this meeting.
Yep.
I've got a supervisor doing that because it should have gone out to you yesterday.
There's only one, section 32 today, and that's backing up the strategic directions chapter.
Okay.
So, and just going through the actual chapter, you'll note that there are different colours in it. There's green, yellow and red. The green highlights definitions, just so that you're aware when we come to talk about definitions tomorrow. The yellow highlights references. to other sections of the chapter or other chapters, and the red are proposed amendments that officers are proposing for your consideration on the basis of all the feedback we've had.
Okay.
Just one further thing before we get on with this, and that is to say that you will also get a full copy of the Christchurch Joint Officials Group, that's the whole of government group, hopefully later today, if not tomorrow, with a sort of summary contextual document from myself on top of that. And I think I've already said you should have also received attachment 1, which is again a summary of the online survey and the comments, instead of having to read all of this, but we want you to have it available in case you want to check that we've got certain persons might have made comments to you and you want to check that they're in here, that they have been considered. So the next slide. I have already mentioned this, but the proposed amendments that we're bringing to you today as a revision chapters, are not only based on the finding the balance comments, that is a large part of them, of which there are about 1,800, 900 from the online surveys and 900 odd from comments, but they also come from the collaborative process, which includes the Christchurch Joint Officials Group, and they also come from the legal review. Now, there's a note at the bottom there to say that in considering proposed amendments to the chapter, we must also consider the confines within which we work in the directions that we've already discussed with you in previous rounds, and that is the higher order planning documents, such as the regional policy statement, the land use recovery plan, a purpose and principles of the Resource Management Act, and of course the plan needs to be able to be supported legally by a good, robust Section 32 and be consistent with RMA. Claire?
In relation to the process, I'm assuming that each of us have had quite major feedback from about some issues in our wards.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful if we actually just went round the table and told you some of our thinking on that prior to going through this entire
I
process?
do have a slide for that, Deputy Mayor, that's coming up, and I would like to hear that first to make sure that we do deal with the hotspots, as it were, that you each have as well. So this next slide is simply showing the relationship between the district plan and the land use recovery plan, and how we're guided and given directions from the land use recovery plan. I won't rest on that for too long, but just to note that you also have land use recovery plans in front of you. Next slide.
Yeah, we do.
Just to share reference documents. Yes?
Has everyone got one?
No, there isn't enough for everyone to have one, unfortunately. I've got another one here if people want it, but it's just if we want to check certain things. The next...
We can get some delivered to down here, couldn't we?
We have
Sorry.
asked for a number of times for more copies, and we haven't yet received them from Sarah. It
Well,
is
I know
available
I've got two
online.
in my office. I mean,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, surely we've got a few around the building.
They're like hen's teeth around our
Are they?
area.